I am here with Ahava. I'm going to do a quick introduction and we'll just jump in. This is Communi-Tea Thursday. Asmara Bellydance Initiative does this on Thursdays so that we can connect with and highlight other dancers of color in the community. And we're really excited that Ahava agreed to this interview because she is definitely a really predominant dancer in the community. So Ahava and I've talked a little bit online, but I did a little digging because I wanted to like really get to know your dance journey. And I was really surprised and excited that you've been dancing since you were 9 years old, right? You've been,
Yes.
exploring dance. And since then, Ahava has been on a journey of exploring different genres of dance. I believe you started with like West African and African dances, correct? And
Yeah.
you've really fallen in love with the Egyptian side of belly dance. So I know that you have definitely performed. I've loved seeing your performances. You've won some titles, 2005 Fusion Star. You won in 2008 the Belly Dancer of the Year. So you definitely have put in a lot of work in the community. You're a beautiful dancer, and we're so excited that you're here with us today. So I know I kind of like talked about the Egyptian style that you enjoy, but I want to ask you what style of belly dance you actually officially do, if it is Egyptian.
Yeah, it is Egyptian. I started uh, as far as like my belly dance career, um, kind of started in fusion, like tribal fusion, because I couldn't find a um, instructor who could teach me at such a young age, and this specific class was like open to all ages. So I did that for a while, and then I found a studio that did more American cabaret style belly dance. So I did that for a while as well. And then I sort of fell into more uh, Egyptian style um, uh, classes and workshops and found that that fit me the most. And it sort of made sense. It felt like I'd done it before, which is really weird to say, but it was like something had been awakened, like it felt very familiar and comfortable, still challenging in not just technique, but just, I don't know, it's, there's subtleties in it that look easy on the surface, but when you sort of dig and peel back the layers, it's very complex. And I think that's what I enjoy about it. So yeah, I'm mainly an Egyptian style dancer.
I can definitely relate to that feeling around Egyptian style dance, like the layers of it, and I don't know, something about it just feels like home. I don't know
Yes,
how else to put it. It's just a really
yeah,
special style of belly dance. But I know that I've heard from a lot of dancers that we tend to start more in fusion and American cabaret because it's not as accessible, especially when you're younger. And I hope that that changes someday because I think it's a really beautiful style of belly dance that would be amazing to learn as a kid and be able to like
yes,
build on those skills for years.
absolutely.
So maybe we'll see if it gets there. So I know that a lot of things have shifted this year for all of us with the pandemic. And I've seen a lot of people take different approaches to how they keep up their dance practices, whether it's just personal dance practices or if they're still teaching or performing. So I wanted to ask you, what are some ways that you've been able to stay motivated as a dancer with all of the COVID madness?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's been very hard, to be honest. Uh, I think for me, the difficulty, because I don't dance full time, I have a full time job. And I also started my master's program recently. So I'm very
Congrats.
busy. Oh, thank you. I'm very busy. So I don't really have time to, like I did before, to dedicate to even practicing for myself. I currently don't teach online courses because I just don't have the time. Um, so it's hard, and there are times when I do miss teaching. Like I haven't taught a group class like in person since February. So, I miss my students and I miss seeing them every week and engaging with them and dancing with them. Uh, yeah. So what I have done, like, when I feel like really stressed or I need to just decompress, I'll just put on some music and I just kind of freestyle in my living room. And it helps. It feels good to dance and to move and to, sort of reconnect with something that I've been doing for more than half my life now. So um, it is tough, but also just trying to stay connected, like, with my students and some, dance colleagues who've been very supportive and sort of like a shoulder to lean on when, I have moments of being discouraged or feeling discouraged. So it all helps.
I mean, I agree with you. And I think you bring up a good point. A lot of us have, I mean, I can say for myself too, like really looked at like, how do I stay present in the community? But I think it's just as important to just enjoy the dance right now and just like continue to foster the relationships that came from it. It's not all about haflas and shows and teaching, even though we love those things. There's also just community and self-care in dance. So I think that
Absolutely.
I will take something from what you said and focus on that a little bit more for myself too. Yeah. So I guess like reminiscing back to when we had all of these opportunities to get out in the world, when you were doing gigs and performances, like what would you say is your most memorable belly dance gig you've ever done?
I think I wouldn't say it was a gig per se. It was just an opportunity that, you know, it was dancing in Egypt for the first time um, at at the time, a popular dance festival. It was just such a magical time for me. It was my first time traveling internationally by myself. Um, and I was going to Africa and just, it was just so exciting. And being on stage, seeing all these, well-known instructors and dancers, and um, I'd made new friends and new connections, and it was just such a, a good time to be had. And I danced at in the closing gala show, and at the time they had these two giant um, like big screen projector thingies on the side of the stage, and that was very new for me. I've just been dancing in restaurants and things like that. So I remember there was a moment where I looked up. I had did like a turn or something, and I looked up at the project or the screen, and I saw myself, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So I immediately, turned away. I was like, "Oh god, that was a lot of me on the screen." But just connecting with the audience and just dancing on the soil was just very memorable for me.
That sounds really special. I mean, like the place and the fact so that was your first time like doing almost like a stage performance versus a restaurant dancing?
Well, I had done stage performances, but
Mhm.
just in regards to having, it was like such a large venue, and it was a raised stage, and they had all these cameras like flying, zooming around, and like I said, the huge TV screen or project, I don't know what they were, but like just so that the audience could see you because the stage was so, uh, so far away. So it was just almost like being on stage at a concert, I would assume. I've never done it, but uh, it was a very unique experience. I had never had that before.
That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if I've seen that. Like, well, I've seen it with certain shows, but it's not often. I mean, that's really special that you got to like perform. I mean, also a little bit nerve wracking, but
Oh,
really
oh
exciting.
gosh, yeah.
I don't know what I would
Just
have done if
that,
I turned around and saw myself mid-turn.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like the story before that, I always have a story about performances, but the story before that, um, me getting on the stage was even, an experience as well. They had given me, I think 2 or 3 minutes time limit, and I got in there. I didn't know the logistics
To
of
dance?
like, what's that to dance? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pretty
So
short.
I got there and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be dancing with a live band. This is awesome. And then my, sponsor, or the people who I had traveled with, were just like, no, no, you don't have an orchestra. And I was like, oh, okay. And they were like, did you bring music? I said no. And they were like, oh, you have to find a song. And so they knew a guy who had a laptop, and I just searched through his library on his um, computer, and I knew none of the songs. And I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? And then he had played one song that I was familiar with, but the song was almost 7 minutes long. And then he was like, you can't dance to that. And I was like, but it's the only thing I feel comfortable dancing to. And I was like, it's okay, just cut it at 3 minutes. I'll just spin and bow and exit the stage. But long story short, they played the entirety of the song. So it all worked out in the end, but it was stressful getting on that stage, but it was so worth it at the end.
That's quite a story.
Yeah. Oh no, I can't hear you.
Been in. Oh, yeah, that's the I don't know. I feel like we all have those dance stories where we get like thrown into situations. But I mean, kudos to you, because that's to be in Egypt and on that big stage and improving essentially. Did you get like
Yeah.
video of it? Did they give you?
There's video. I never got my hands on it. I know it's out there. I never, I think I have 2 photos of me performing. Um, but I know there's a video floating somewhere.
Somewhere in the world. That's
Somewhere.
how it goes.
Yeah. It's okay.
So just thinking about like the dance industry and those quirky things that happen, and the nice things, but also the not so nice things. What are some things you would change if you could change the belly dance industry today? What would you change about it?
Um, just to have, inclusivity for everyone. Um, and just making sure everyone is visible. I think that's the main thing. And just oh gosh, how can I say this? Okay, so being inclusive, and then also being cognizant of the information that you're putting out into the community. So not to put out false information and you know portrayed as the absolute truth, because I think that's how a lot of misconceptions happen, um, and misinformation gets spread. And yeah, accountability, and yeah, I think those are the main things for me. Just giving everyone an even playing field, an opportunity.
I agree with you. Those are all things that I could see really improving the community. And I know some of us are working towards that, and others are struggling a little bit, but I'm hoping that we continue to see that growth where people have like the equity and people are accountable and a little bit more mindful of what they share, because I'm seeing a lot more dancers be like, oh, I apologize, like I was saying all of these things and now that I've actually done the research. But unfortunately, I'm also seeing just as many dancers like continue to just like, I feel like we've been told stories and people just, they continue the narrative and they
Yes.
don't feel comfortable doing the work. So but here's to hoping. I think, I mean, every time somebody decides to be mindful and accountable. I hope it changes like 10 more people, that they're like, wow,
Yeah.
I should look into my own behavior and just make sure that I'm doing the right thing too.
Mm-hmm.
So, with everything you have learned over the years, if you could go back and tell like your baby belly dancer self one thing, what would you share with yourself, knowing what you know?
I would say to keep going, just to keep doing what you're doing, because there are going to be so many opportunities that open up, that are far beyond you know what you think could happen. So just keep striving and practicing and working hard. It'll pay off.
That's really great advice. I mean, that's great advice for someone starting out and now. Just keep going, keep swimming.
Exactly.
Because the community is going to ebb and flow. And I think that over time, like I've had to learn that too. Like you have to have your center and
Yes.
just keep going down your path at your own pace, regardless.
Right.
But yeah, I appreciate you sharing your stories and your insights with us. And I hope that like once COVID is over, because I'm in Los Angeles, I would love to take classes with you and actually meet you in person.
I know, right?
But if people do want to connect with you on social media, or if you have a website, do you mind sharing that information?
Sure. So I am on social media. I'm on Instagram, only the number one, Ahava, and on Facebook, Ahava Dance. My website is ahavabellydance.com. I'm not really active on my website. It hasn't been updated in a moment because right now I'm taking a sabbatical. Like I said, because I am in school, and I am not teaching online classes at the moment or in the foreseeable future, honestly. But if you just want more information about who I am and what I do, those resources are available.
Well, thank you. And I'll make sure that I'll write that down for everyone, and I'll put it on the end of the video as well. So don't feel the need to scramble, guys, and try to spell everything right. But I appreciate you sharing. I think it's valuable and necessary for people to take breaks, to focus on other parts of their life. I'm in total support of that. You have a lot of beautiful art out there that people can already see, and you're a wonderful person to connect with regardless of dance. So we really appreciate you doing this interview. And we'll have it up for Thursday. Is there anything else that you want the dance community to know we didn't discuss?
Just, be kind to one another and be mindful, and to always be open to learning from each other. We are outsiders. This is a dance that is very rich in history and culture, and it is imperative that we learn and understand what it is that we're doing. The dance, the language, the culture, it all marries together, and we have to be receptive to learning about the culture. You just always keep that in mind.
That's great advice. Well, thank you, Ahava, and I hope you have a lovely evening.
You as well. Thank you.